Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Sip and Share with the Origin Woman Network. I am Kath Clarke. I am a brand strategist and marketing coach. And today I would love to welcome the absolutely gorgeous Gaby Vega from Gaby Soul Coaching. Gaby is an intuitive business guide, I think we would call her. So I wanted to introduce her. She's been in the Origin Woman Bar program last year and has been in the network for a while now. And I'm super thrilled to have you here with us sharing your story. Welcome, Gaby.
Hi. Hi, Kath. Hi, everyone. So happy to be here. So honored. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Absolute pleasure. So, Gaby, let's get straight into it. I want you to tell us why energy management or understanding energy and energy flow in business is so important.
Oh, wow. That's a big question. So I'll try to narrow it down because it's so much. Well, it's crucial because businesses, no matter if they have your same name, like a branding perspective or a different name, a business is an extension of your energy. So it all goes back to you. Sometimes we wonder, oh, why is this not working? Where's your mindset? Where's your energy? Maybe things are happening at home, which of course is fair, or maybe we're getting distracted by something else. So products, clients, all that it goes around business, how to go back to what is working and what is not. Go back to yourself and go back to your energy. That's why it's so crucial and important. So a way to nurture, a way to work with your business is going back to yourself and your energy. So practice every day, and also things like, for example, when you're releasing products, when you are, having a workshop, a program, things like that. One of the first things, aside of the branding, aside of the wording, aside of all the look and feel of those products, I would invite you to go and check in with your energy. Where's your energy? What is the intention of your energy that you're putting in that product, that you're putting in your business, that you're putting in the clients that you will attract? Because the way that you do it, it will mark part of the success, or with high percentage of the success of it. When you don't, and I think it has happened to all of us, sometimes we get that random client that we have kind of not exactly a flow with it. They're like, why is this happening? Well, where's my energy? Maybe it's just like I'm desperate because I need to meet ends and I just need to get on the financials of the month. Yes, we have all been there, but go deep inside. Where's my energy? And most of all, what's the reason why you started all, which is really connected with your energy too.
Being a personal brand and marketing strategist myself, obviously when people come to me work with me, they want things like websites, social media, some practical kind of logical, tangible evidence that is going to support their business growth, their success, lead generation, authority amplification, that sort of stuff. What you're saying is that's only part of the story. The other part of the story is your connection to purpose in business is a great place to start. But then that connection to purpose actually then dictates how you energetically show up, which, are you saying that other people are kind of reading that energy and therefore that could tell us something about the inexplicable things that seem to happen in business sometimes when you've got all your ducks lined up but it still doesn't work? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, basically it's interesting. It's maybe people that are not very in tune with energy, and it's not woo-woo. It's just, let me put it in a different way. It's quantum physics. Basically, right. Which is a base or scientific base for the law of attraction on manifesting and all that. So basically, it's like, what's your frequency? Where are you vibrating? So everything that you do has and shares your vibration. And therefore, it's almost like a very internal antenna that we all have. And it's like, what are you picking up on what I'm putting out in the world, including my energy, my personality, but also my products? When I do the sales speech, when you do a sales speech with a big company, a small company, or even someone, a potential client that you meet somewhere, when you share your sales pitch, you're sharing your energy too. So that's where you are, your intention. Where are you? Where is it? Okay, so that's why it works so well. Let me give you an example that you're a digital marketing girl. That's why it's so successful on social media video on top of carousels, because you're sharing your energy there. People can pick up on your vibe.
Yeah.
That's why, and that's what we, and intuitively, that's why we like it over posts that there's no voice,
Yeah.
there's no energy, it's just images, which can be beautiful. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, a part of us think, but somebody else probably did it. Maybe Kath was not behind. And then when you come and show up with your beautiful vibe and your beautiful energy, we're like, oh, I like her. Oh, I like what she's offering. I'm going to go for that discovery call. I remember when you first gave me a call for the bar, I'm like, oh my God, I like her vibe. I like her rhythm. I like her pace. She knows what she's talking about. And you took me back. See how important. You hit a very important spot in me, in my energy, without probably knowing. You reminded me of those times where I had meetings while I was working in corporate.
Yeah.
Because you have that same vibe of fast pace, go to the point, and but also happy and friendly, all that, but that's your energy.
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay. I'm starting to understand the sort of pie chart of how businesses work here a little bit. If you were to sort of say the pie chart of like all of the things that we do in business, that, you think of like an org chart, you've got your COO, your operating officer, your CFO, your head of marketing, the CEO, all of those roles going on and all the tasks that happen underneath that. What percentage do you think is that, and what percentage is just the energy of the founder and the purpose, the vision, the connection to the greater?
That's an excellent question. And I would think every single part, especially being sole trader, or when you start, which we all start there, being wearing many caps, right? I'm the CEO, I'm the CFO, I'm the head of marketing. I'm like, especially at that era, which is the base of the rest, when you start growing and hiring people. But at the end, every single one has your energy. So if you think maybe image, I would give it like a 20%, but the rest, it would be 100, like 80%, 80% energy.
80% energy.
I would give it 80% energy.
Okay, so this could be a newsflash for everybody listening to this, because they are, I know you're not saying don't spend money with me to help them with all of the brand and marketing side of things.
No.
The mindset coaching. I'm not trying to do us out of a job here.
No.
But it sounds like, guys, if you do not have the 80% energy thing dialed in, then mostly you're not going to be as effective as you're hoping to be in business. Yeah.
And may I add to you what I like about your style, and intuitively you do it when you have those conversations, because we have had those conversations of the potential of working together. You make sure the product that you come up with as offerings, as proposals, you make sure that you tuned into the energy of people. So, but it takes someone that is intuitively good or intentionally unconsciously good into, okay, that's her vibe, because you know this, Kath, as someone that offers these things, you cannot brand the same person A and person B.
No, you can't. You absolutely can't. You have to harness in that, like you say, tap into the purpose and wrap up that unique edge. But this is not about me. This is about you, Gaby. I want you to tell us about some kind of case studies or use cases for what you do. So we haven't actually touched on how you do what you do. I know that you use astrology as your main medium. There are other modalities that you touch on to guide people?
Yes, an intuitive, I don't know how to call it, like an intuitive energy worker. And for those ones that this might sound a little bit woo-woo,
we don't call it woo-woo around here. We just know.
Okay, I'm very much in. I was born with a beautiful gift that it's to be able to connect with other realms. So that makes me a channeler. So I can channel your spirit guides.
Amazing.
And in a nutshell, yes, spirit guides are pretty much involved in businesses too, but that's something that I offer for people that are in tune with that. And when their spirit guides tap into the session, because it can even come up in their natal chart. It's amazing. And in one of the packages, actually, I include messaging from the spirit guide, but it's always an option because some people prefer just to stick to astrology and some people like to explore a little bit more. There's a little bit for everyone.
So tell me about somebody that you've worked with recently in a business context. What was going on for them? What problems were they talking about having? What did you guys do and how did you work together, and what was the outcome? Just keep it nice and punchy for me.
Yes, of course. So someone who had a business but had that uncertainty, actually several ones, but that wasn't 100% sure if they were targeting the right people, the avatar. Right. So
Was that showing
basically,
up for them?
pardon?
How was that showing up for them? Why? How did they know they were unsure?
Well, they were that having that hesitance because part of energy,
Yeah.
also because they were restricting their energy, and a part of them made them think that it was because they were not targeting the right market, the right clients, the right avatar. So tapping, and of course with that, before I go forward, get excited, it was showing up in numbers, right? That when you run a business, at the end of the day, you can have the most beautiful intention, you can have the most wonderful idea, part of your energy, but also part of that energy is money.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have that consciousness of how do I frame it,
Mm-hmm.
and do I need help in order to make this work? Because at the end of the day is how many customers are arriving and how does that translate. So basically that was one of the triggers, right? Like is not
But
income is not being as high as I would have thought, or
and
I
she
would.
was also feeling like she wasn't fully self-expressed with the people that she was
Yes.
working with too. So numbers and full self-expression. Yep. Okay.
Yes, correct. Thank you for boarding it out like that.
Mm.
So when we tapped her natal chart, it showed up that confirmation. Basically, in astrology is very interesting because there's a point, without revealing too much, and especially for those ones who are not so in tune with astrology, there's a point in your natal chart that shows what you're working as a soul, the
Mm-hmm.
area. Beautifully, that is the same kind of clients that you will attract.
Hmm.
Interesting. So it runs in parallel. There are some other points that it's basically what you're showing to the world, like your gifts that you are there, like under the spotlight. And there's another point that what you naturally have as an ability to offer. So basically, you work three different points
Hmm.
and a fourth one, which is your business card. We all have our business card, which is not your sun.
So hang on. So first of all, let's just clear up for people that don't know what on earth we're talking about here. A natal chart is where the planets are when you're born.
Yes, correct. Thank you. Yes, so you need for a natal chart to cast a chart, you need to know your, of course, date of birth, your time of birth, and your place of birth. And then, depending on the technique that it's used, in my case, it's Western astrology.
Yeah.
It looks like a wheel that
Yeah.
it's kind of like a pizza. It has 12 slices. And there
Right.
are planets, there are asteroids, and many alignments in there that you read and you interpret according to what you want to find out.
And so you were saying that there's the person's natal chart, but were you just hinting that there's also a business natal chart? Is that what you were saying just before?
Well, you can read the natal chart of a person as a business,
Oh,
but
yeah.
also if you have, like at the stage that it's like an extension of your, if you share your name with your business, like in my case,
Mm-hmm.
Kath Clarke or
Mm-hmm.
any name. So basically, because it's an extension of your energy, an
Yeah.
extension of you, you use that chart to read it.
Yeah.
And going back to this person, because we're doing the case
Yeah.
study, so basically it showed that those areas that she needs to work on, it's a reflection of the clients that she's attracting.
Okay.
So she needs to focus on that. And she had a beautiful base that nurtures her talents plus other things that she wasn't seeing or she wasn't recognizing fully. So that's
Okay.
the beauty of a natal
I know
chart.
I'm interrupting you, but I just want to keep recapping on this so that everyone's getting it. So, I mean, when you say she wasn't feeling full self-expression and she wasn't getting the numbers for her business, yet what you said was she's actually attracting the right people because it's what she should be working on in this lifetime. Was she a bit bummed out by that? Like,
Well, it was interesting because it was a confirmation because
yeah.
intuitively deep down she knew. But what was surprising to me, because it was clear in there, but also understanding the rest of the chart, it made sense. Despite the fact that her friends would have told her in the past that she had those talents to share with the world and make it a business, she wasn't fully recognizing them.
Oh,
So
so
it
she
was self-recognition that she needed.
so her version of full self-expression was packaging it up. This actually, I went through a similar thing, and an energy coach told me the same thing. So I was packaging myself up as a digital marketer, but in fact, I was much more of an intuitive strategist. And she was saying to me, what you're doing on the sales call is actually what the product is, So, and that's how my impact alchemy got born, which is a bespoke personality profile, essentially. So you're saying she has a similar situation where she thought her full self-expression looked like XYZ and equaled XY money, but you're saying actually no, you've been you're getting the right clients, but you're leaning into the wrong product.
Well, yeah, she was holding back. Therefore, going back to energy, she wasn't expressing herself fully at 100%. So instead, and that's why she was attracting only a percentage of clients, a percentage of money, because she was not seeing 100% of herself.
Got it. So this is really cool because this is now multi-layered in that we've solved her problem for her, but we've also actually now brought what was unconscious to the conscious for her, which I'm sure then showed up in other parts of her life, right? When she shows up in her full self-expression. Right. Okay. Awesome. All right. So I'm starting to see that, having a reading with you may not end up in a linear pathway to, oh, great, there's more money in the right people now. It might actually be a bit of a windy road to get there, but the overall feeling will be of more fulfillment across the board.
Yes, there's more. And also adding to that, without making it too complex, like when you have years like this one, like 2026, it's like an extra, because every year when it's your birthday, a part of your chart gets activated. So that's on one side. And then the top of that layer is the transits and the planets where they are. And this year, it's very unique. There's one placement in particular, without being too technique, that in recorded human history, because these softwares that we use, astrologers, to do the astrology and to see where the planets are, this placement has only been with us 3 times in human history. And the first one, it's like before Christ, like ages, like 4,000 before Christ, or some date, like it's crazy like that. And this one that is happening actually on the 20th, this is the 3rd time that it has happened. So it's very important. And the important part, without getting too technical about astrology, is the symbolism is a reset, a start, a different way of living. So this placement, it's super important, especially if you're a leader, if you're a coach, if you have a business, because you're a leader, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a different way of living.
Okay. We're all hanging on with bated breath on what that actually means, but maybe that's the opportunity for people to chat with you on a clarity call to see what it means for them, because I'm sure it means something different to everybody. How on earth did you get into all of this? I mean, you said you were born with a gift. At what age did you know that you had that gift, and who supported you to hone it in? How did you end up where you are, Gaby? We have to.
Oh, thank you for asking. That's a deep question with a very long answer, but let's try to narrow it down. At a very young age, like around 5, I think I cannot go further than 5, because doctor says like you can only remember things that happen around the age that's the youngest that you can remember.
Sure.
Maybe there's some people that can remember more that are gifted, but no, not me. So I remember having dreams. Basically, my gift is opening interdimensional doors, if you want to get more specific about it. So during dreams, I would open doors for interdimensional beings at a higher level and not such a high level.
Wow.
So that would freak me out. And of course, that would be called child nightmares, or what they call like infancy fears of, bedtime fears or whatever. But I would see them really clearly. So, and then further, I would see things that would be coming for my family. My gift, basically explaining it, is that I see you as a person, but I go through your physical body and I see situations that are coming for you. So that makes me a clairvoyant. And sometimes when I hear your spirit guides, I'm a clarion. So I would see things coming specifically for my dad. And of course, that freaked me out. You don't have the maturity to understand that you're not causing things that would be between the ages of 6 and 10. Yeah. And after seeing the repetition of certain events, I just decided consciously to turn off the channel. So I blocked it completely, because it was very accurate to what I would see. And I would feel guilty because I thought I was causing it.
Oh, wow.
So at that point, there was no guidance. Of course, I wouldn't talk to anybody about it. And further, when I was 29, which is pretty much the end of as a capsule here in the story, it's that time when you hear between 27 and 29, and you go through the lessons that Saturn as a planet brings to you that basically is you think you are in a certain way and this is your identity and this is what defines you. So Saturn pretty much comes and gives you a little kick in the butt, but sometimes is bigger than a kick in the butt, to understand that you're bigger than that and your identity is it's so much more profound than what you thought it was by 26. So
I know so many people that struggle through that Saturn returns moment. So yeah, I totally remember that myself too.
yeah, so things happen. So basically, and I had shared recently that story, but basically I was working for a big corporation at that time, 26, the most important bank in Mexico. And I was in charge of big project Y2K, and we have been working on it like 10 months, kid you not. I was the leader of the project. Well, on the 28th of December 1999, my Saturn return gifted me appendicitis attack. So I ended up going to the hospital at 3 a.m., getting an appendectomy, and that took me pretty much out of the scene for 3 weeks. And with that, things started escalating. Seeing that had a boss that didn't acknowledge that I was genuinely sick and on sick leave, asking me to come earlier before my sick leave was done.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
you're talking about a time also that who was it? 90s, the end of the 90s, the work management and work style was completely different.
Thought their book was going to end with Y2K. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And then, of course, that escalated of me not being happy there and talking about energy. When you are not honest with yourself, of taking yourself out of a situation that you're not happy, the universe reads that energy. So the universe goes, if you're not going to do anything about it, I'll do something about it. And then things escalated, getting worse work-wise, that I had to basically started making calls, which helped me out to mature from a work perspective, being courageous enough to see my value and having that inner conversation of like, I'm not being valued here. So I'm going to go and take myself to somewhere else that I'm going to feel more valued and more recognition in everything, like not only as a person, as a worker, financially and everything. So I landed a very good job at a different company, an internet company. And that also opened the door for me to start meeting people in that company that were into angels and into pranic healing. And I started working that part of me, meeting who was my metaphysics teacher, who refreshed my memory about all the talents that I had. And healing that 5-year-old that had all these beautiful talent that didn't understand what they were. So now with my business, I'm supporting that.
When did you fully get out of corporate and actually transition into business then?
It was probably 2020. I started doing parallel, that's another thing. Probably was 2000, no, 2020, no. It was 2000, probably 6.
Wow. So you've been in business for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, because I started doing parallel from 2003. Then I did 3 years kind of parallel, but 2006 it was like I had enough fun of corporate. If you haven't worked in corporate, it drains your blood, basically. It drains your soul.
Yeah.
So I had enough. And I started doing something else.
Amazing. It's such a big leap. I talk to so many women in my line of work that are trying to harness that courage to take that leap, and they do say that you don't make a decision until the present situation becomes so uncomfortable that the alternative is more attractive, but it really does take something to make that leap. So it's incredibly impressive that you did, and let alone into something that would to many feels so uncertain, like how to get clients for a business like this. We know that there's some historically been some stigma around, as you said, called it woo-woo. But I think that in this day and age, more and more and more, and certainly the people that we associate with here in Origin Woman Network are very open to understanding the energy of self, business, connections, community, and how that works. Tell me, how can you help some of the beautiful business women in our community have the same revelations, get back in flow, have their energy aligned for a really powerful 2026?
Yeah, thank you. So basically, I would say two scenarios. If you are not quite clear about that energy that you're projecting in your products, or like maybe changing an avatar, that would help you as part of discovering if you're on the right path. So that's one. The other one, when you're launching a product, because astrology, that one of the beauties that it has, and I have learned, the more that I study, the more that I realize it's a great ally to have, the timings. It's not the same to launch a product when your Mercury is when Mercury is in retrograde.
Yeah.
When the moon is getting smaller and getting ready to be a new moon, that when you launch a product, when the moon is growing and becoming crescent, which is better. Or when your Venus, you have to work with your Venus. Venus and Jupiter are one of the big keys when you have a business. So in branding, that's a good one because that would help you. Jupiter to grow things, to launch things. Mercury retrograde, yes, because we have 3 Mercury retrogrades per year. And life doesn't. Maybe you have to do things, but the energy that you work with Mercury in retrograde, it's more an energy of revision.
Yeah.
So you have that mindset. And for example, let's set an example. You and I have a meeting because you're helping out to launch a product or something. So our mindsets when we start the meeting is, okay, we're going to revise, we're going to review this, and we're going to mend something.
I see. Okay. Which is completely different to I'm going to scrap it and start again. And then, right. So there's timings and approaches that are appropriate for different timings. I love it. So you've got a new business astrology product. Am I right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I have been working behind the scenes in beta products, but basically for businesses. And there are 3 sessions. But before spilling all, like all the tea, if you are in a stage as a business that you think that astrology can give you something and you feel that call, that energy, that after this call I can really find something else and some more support through astrology, there's a clarity call and we can have a conversation in there for what you need. But basically it's 3 sessions that target 3 different areas of your business. One of them is an avatar. So if you're struggling about finding the right avatar, it's in there in your natal chart. So that's one of them.
Love it. So exciting. Oh my God. This is like the hack code, everybody, to the 80% of what happens in your business that you seemingly can't control, but turns out you can. Well, you can't control it still, but you can probably work with the flow, it sounds like. Gaby, thank you so much for your time today. It's been such a pleasure chatting to you, and hearing your origin story has been pretty incredible too. Although we've worked together pretty closely for a year now, I didn't know the backstory of her childhood. So I'm thrilled to learn about that. Thank you again for your time, and we will see you in the group.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you again, Kath, and thank you, ladies, for watching. Thank you. Thank you.